my dad wanted me to become a lawyer because he was an attorney and then an advocate, and one of his advocate pals also tried to get me to convince me to go into legal. Mad on flying, and I went to the National Championships model aircraft in Bloemfontein at Tempe. And gee, that took a lot of preparations and things, and a Junior Victor Ladorum award, and lovely. Then I went to Rhodesia and I took part in control line flying, combat and stunt. So that was international. Anyway, a year later I ploughed matric because of my involved. I didn't plough it. I could have had a SUP that would have given me what they called a B stream pass in those days, which wasn't good enough for the Air Force. In the meantime, I'd gone to the Air Force, and when the results came out, my name wasn't there on the A stream, and I gave my gun and my uniform back and went back to school for a year, because the SUP, then that was the only thing I was going to do was fly. And that held me in reasonable stead when I went back to, when I applied to the Air Force again, and I was accepted. 20 hours and 30 minutes. And I just happened to be the first one on the course. Not because I was the ace of aerospace, but my instructor was hell-bent that I was going to be the first one. Boy, and did he whip me into it. It was a terrible experience. The solo was lovely because I didn't have this screaming lunatic behind me. It was 11 foot high and 37 foot wingspan or thereabouts. Weighed 5,760 pounds. It's a big airy, with a big engine on the front, 9-cylinder thing, 9-foot propeller. And now here you get into this monster of an aeroplane. You've got a wobble pump here, and then it's got a primer pump, a big thing like this, and you turn this and you have to keep the pressure in the green. I think it was about 3 or 4 psi, and then take this thing and get this thing sort of half and keep this thing going all the time. But it's like rubbing your stomach and patting your head. And you've got to prime this thing 8 times when it's cold and 4 times when it's hot. And then eventually you've got this thing back, and you've got to still keep this bloody wobble pump going. And now it's all clear. You've got to shout around, wobble pump going, and you pull the starter, and this thing bursts into life. This monster of an aeroplane. It was delightful. The fact that it was a tail dragger, so this thing wants to swap ends all the time. It was a difficult aeroplane to learn to fly on. The ultimate airplane that I ever flew was a 747-400. That was the most delightful airplane. But to fly it manually is so beautiful. It's absolutely unreal. What a wonderful airplane. The thing weighs 400 tons, and it handles, you can feel it's a nice heavy airliner, but it's so powerful, and you've got such a wonderful setup in front of you, such incredible instrumentation. Which in this General Aviation Safety Initiative, it's one of the things that are part of the section that I do. So I tell people about, you must have a map. If you fly further than 20 nautical miles, it is mandatory to have a map, but you must be crazy not to have it. I have that Avi map book behind the seat here. Also, if you fly more than 20 nautical miles, you've got to have a Metroport. Bet you didn't know that. Correct. And people who hurt themselves or get killed because they fly into weather, it is through their own stupidity, lack of training, brashness, bravado, arrogance. I've scared myself with, that's why I'm so thin, otherwise I'd be a lot. No, of course. 27,000 hours, you are going to have incidents that terrify you beyond imagination. I think the most terrifying one that I had was coming across from New York. We had radar that could see 600 miles, nautical miles ahead of you. And at 600 miles, there was this line, a solid line, but a thin line, jeepers, and you look outside, you can just see the whole place looks like a neon light, that it is lit up with thunderstorms. Terrible stuff. Anyway, we get closer and everybody is strapped in, and now we're picking a route through this lot. Now we've blown it up. We had excellent radar. So finding our way through the least violent spots, and the aeroplane is shaking. Oh man. Even had our satchels tied down there. We've got straps for them, everything. Now this aeroplane's banging around, but it's banging so hard that the bloody ashes and muck and stuff is coming off the floor, it's floating around you, hanging on. We had a handle here just above the window that you hang on to. Hanging on to that so that you don't smash your head against this. And because the airplane is so high at the top, the center line of the airplane, it does this. So you accelerating and it bangs your head against the side. Now this happened for maybe about 25 minutes. And you look outside and you've got wing lights, and have a look and you see the engines are doing this, and the bloody wing is up and down. And no, we told the passengers that, look, we are going to be busy, but we'll secure this airplane. It's going to be terribly uncomfortable, but don't worry, we're not going to hurt anybody. The airplane can take it. But me, myself, I know that the nose is going to break off this thing. It's pitching so damn hard, up and down, bang, sideways, bang, bang. And suddenly it's calm. It was the old Hong Kong Kai-Tak, because you've got this massive airliner and you're coming here against the checkerboard and you're down to 400 feet and it's only a 40-degree turn. And when you start the turn when you're at 2.3 miles, not 2.4 or 2.2, because you go to 2.2, you've got to do this in amongst with a wingtip going through the buildings. But if you do it properly, it's a piece of old khaki to do that thing, and you line up, and although you might have crosswinds and things, you know, by the time you're flying those things, that mustn't worry you. So that was the most fun place. Vehemently. Yes, I did. Right in the beginning, with this instructor bully of mine, I was so terrified of this guy. I was so terrified that I'd be washed off the course. And I used to take a plastic packet with me. Or a packet. No, there were no plastic packets in 1962. And I'd take a packet with me, and if I got sick, I'd quite send it.